Hey guys, thanks for tuning in to KenSmithFishing.com once again. Another report for you. This will be the 6th, 7th, and 8th, I think, or 5th, 6th, and 7th. 2 days on Rayburn, 1 day on Toledo. I practiced on Rayburn. Unfortunately, I forgot my GoPro when I went out for practice. And then I have to admit, I wanted to get some tournament footage, and I stink at it. I took some pictures by accident. I just am so much more worried about catching fish on tournament day than I'm about capturing video that I only have one fish on video from Saturday in the BFL. I will get better at that, I promise. Matter of fact, we're going to try to get some video this weekend. We've got Triple T Saturday at Toledo, and then we're going to fish the Rattle Trap Tournament Sunday on Rayburn, and I will do my best to have the GoPro up and running the whole time to get you guys some footage. So Friday, Saturday on Rayburn. Saturday was the most fun I've ever had catching nothing. I had 10 pounds, 13 ounces, nowhere near a check, but I had a great time. I think I had 23 fish that went to the scales. In other words, that I put on my column, right, trying to get a bigger stringer. I started out deep, 30 to 35 feet of water, Carolina rig. I had a limit really quick, 30, 35 minutes, but I knew those fish were all same size, and if there's not any big ones out there biting earlier, you're probably not going to catch them. Those fish were actually all upside down. I knew I needed to cull them pretty fast, so I ran over to some grass fish. I culled 3 times off some grass fish with an A-rig, and unfortunately drifted up on top of those fish while I was culling. I thought my power poles had me, but it was about 7.5, 8 feet of water, and the wind kind of blew me in there. So I lost those fish, and actually never got a chance to fish them again. Went back twice more, and there was somebody on them. Went up to the flipping fish you guys have seen, caught 3 in there, culled 1. I kind of banged around with the trap most of the rest of the day and got out deep a little bit, caught a few more fish, really didn't cull much, and then real late in the day I had a 3:15 weigh in. At 2:30 I went south and just got on some grass fish that seem to be there every year, and caught 6 on a trap and 3 on a Carolina rig, and culled several times down there, which is kind of amazing that I culled that many times to not even have 11 pounds. But fun day. Terry Hawkins stayed with me down there. Congratulations, Terry, on your 3rd place, 17 pounds, with just really a day of practice. Really kind of locked down and fished some moving baits, and was able to catch, get 7 bites, but have some really good quality bites. So congratulations to you. Phil Marks also, congratulations. Pretty amazing stringer. When they bite that big bait for you, you're hard to beat. Then Sunday I went over to Toledo Bend, and on a real cold, blustery day, I checked a deep spot, one of the few that you could actually fish in that wind, and had 3 good bites, but all 3 of my bites I had somebody looking at me, so I didn't pull any of them, but my sense was 2 of them for sure felt like pretty good fish, just kind of the way they bit and sort of held on to it. But who knows, could have been in 10 inchers. And then I got out on some grass fish later in the day and were able to catch a couple on a trap and a couple on an A-rig. Some better fish, one probably 4, 4.5, and another one about 4, and a couple in the 3-pound range. So not the 35 pounds it takes to win over there typically, but we've still got another practice day Friday. We're going to look at some deep fish, which I'm pretty sure this tournament will be won, kind of pre-spawn winter patterns out off points, etc. So we'll do some of that Friday and try to get on some better bites. But, I think we'll be competitive, if nothing else, just off the grass fish we found. And hopefully I didn't just curse us for saying that. So also in this video, I'm going to show you guys my A-rig setup. I got a lot of private messages and emails about that. By the way, my email address is kensmithfishing@outlook.com. And I do answer emails, usually same day, and glad to answer those. And I will also respond to remarks on my YouTube videos, which are also on my website, kensmithfishing.com. If you don't subscribe to me on YouTube, I'd really appreciate it if you would. I just crossed 300 subscribers, and I'd love to get that number way up higher. So, please subscribe. Please share my videos with your friends. It's really, really appreciated when you do that. And I'm always here to answer questions or run ideas by. I'm interested to hear what you're thinking as well. So I think I got some pretty good video for you. Again, 1 fish from Rayburn, but then a couple of nice fish from Toledo. Unfortunately, by the way, I had something happen Sunday morning on Toledo. I've seen this happen before. three eagles, three bald eagles, had a huge group of mud hens herded up and were harassing them. And if you don't know this, eagles will eat a mud hen. And they were basically trying to peel a mud hen or two off to catch them to eat them. And they didn't, but I actually heard it happening at a distance. I could hear the roar of the wings as the eagles would swoop down, and those, you'd get 100 birds flying off at the same time. Those coots are flying, 10 feet trying to get away. And watched it and filmed it, but I was so far away you can't see it on the GoPro video. And as I tried to get closer, the eagles spooked. So I wish I could have got that video for you, but it was a neat thing to see, and it's part of the fun of being on the water, as much as I get to be on the water. So let's go to some on the water video, and I hope you enjoy it, and I hope you get out on the water this weekend yourself. Thanks, guys.
Which is just as redneck as it sounds. It's a nightclub, but all the bass clubs have their meetings there, and
Got a guy right over here behind me. Just haven't seen this fish. This is wild. You see these every once in a while, these spotted fish. These fish with these big spots on them. Check this guy out. That's a solid 4.5. Look at his lips. That cool. Big fish. Caught that 4-pounder on a trap a second ago, and I've got two guys here in front of me that you probably could see on camera. They didn't see me catch that fish, and they were up on the grass. They've got out on the edge now, and I still had my BFL A-rig tied on, so I had two dummy baits with no hooks, and I've had two each right here in the last couple of seconds, both of which I think probably ate the dummy bait. The last one I saw looked like a 4 or 5 pound fish. So I'm going to let them get a little bit of space. I'm going to spin around here and I'm going to fish through there and see if I can get those fish to bite that A-rig and get a sense of how big they really are and how many of them are here. Give them just a second. I've gotten several questions from guys watching my videos about my equipment I'm using, rod, reel, the A-rig I use, and line choice as well. So I'm just going to run through it real quick. And so number one, I throw the Flash Mob. I've tried some other ones. Frankly, this is a good bait, but this bait's good for 3 or 4 good fish. Once the wires get bent up a little bit, they will break. So I've got probably 20 used ones in there that I use for practice. Every tournament I spool a new one on right off the bat, tie a new one on right off the bat, and once I put a few fish in the boat, if they're bending the hooks. Now, if it's on the main line and he's just pulling on it, I don't worry about it too much. But if I'm catching them on these side hooks, I'll go ahead and swap them out. Secondly, was the head I use. That is the Bite Me. I think it's called the Shaky Ball Head. I'll put it at the bottom of the screen right here for sure. My go-to weight is usually, I think it's a 5/32. Again, I'll give you the exact weight here. Now, you'll see yesterday, for example, in the BFL, where you can only use, in any of the FLW competitions, you can only use 3 live baits. You got to use dummies. So I actually put a little bigger. I think that's 1/4 on the bottom 2, so it rides down and my 2 dummies ride on top and those smaller ones. I am not terribly particular about my swim baits. You'll see me throw a mixture. That is a Bass Pro Shops little swim bait. That is a Big Bite. I think that's what they're called. That's an Academy brand bait. I think it's an Academy brand bait. It's in a red and yellow box. And even this one, that's a swimming fluke. I'll usually throw a little bit bigger bait in the middle bait, but otherwise I mix and match. I don't get too bound up. Typically I will not throw all 5 the same. I try to pay attention to see if they're eating one over the other one. But I find that they don't, but I don't want them to rush up there, and I want them to pick out a bait. I don't want them to just kind of go into that ball. I use 20 pound, oh, by the way, that I mentioned this before in a couple of my responses to private messages and emails. The reason I use that little hook is 2 reasons. Number one, I can bend it. That as it hangs is, you know, way over probably $25 worth of baits. So when I get these things hung up, if I can't jiggle them loose, which usually you can, if I can't, these little wire hooks I can bend loose. You can just get over the top of them and pull on them, and a lot of times you'll get your bait back. Also, as you just saw in the last fish I caught, when they start thrashing around with these little thin wire hooks, they're super sharp. A lot of times you'll get a second and a third hook in them, and you don't lose very many fish. So, you know, the one caution, if you get a horse on, you can't pull on them too hard. You just got to let them swim. You cannot horse a big fish in, and because you will bend these hooks out. I'll throw almost always, actually I do, it's always 20 pound Cigar and Vizex. I've done a lot of experimentation with my rods and my reels. This is a this particular luge rod, or excuse me, luge reel is a, well, I don't remember which one it is. It's an MCS, but what's special about this reel is it's a wide spool. It holds a ton of line, and I want to throw my A-rig and my football jigs and other baits that I throw on heavy line a long ways. So I buy the big wide spool heavy duty luge reels. This is the Super Duty 3. This is a 7'11" heavy action with a fast tip. I've got another one that's a 7'6", but this has become my go-to A-rig rod. I've got 2 of these now, and I really love them. So that's the gear I've been using. Hope that's helpful, and hope we can catch a few more fish before the day's out. Have a good one. If not, fish. Time from several guys about my boots being unzipped. And it's not that I'm lazy or that I can't reach my boots. Look, I can in fact reach my boots. A couple of years ago in the summertime, I put on my foul weather gear, including my boots, and jumped in a pool because I wanted to see what would happen if I wound up in the water accidentally. And they're an anchor. I mean, you can't swim in them. And if you hit water, you know, like today, the water's 49.6, you're going to lose your dexterity and your common sense pretty quick. And so I didn't know if I could get them unzipped or not, so I just leave them unzipped when I'm fishing by myself. If I've got my partner with me, I'll zip them up because I know if I hit the water, I can get back to the top of the water, or they're going to come get me. But if I'm by myself and I hit the water, I want to just kick them off, be able to swim back to the boat, and get myself back in the boat. By the way, if you ever wind up in the water, it happened to me when I was a pretty young man in Millwood in southern Arkansas, and it was very cold, and I got back to the boat, but I could not, with all the clothes I had on, get myself back into the boat. Some guys saw me from a distance and were coming to me, but I had the presence of mind actually to get to the back of the boat and wrap my legs around the motor, and I actually trimmed myself. I just reached around the motor, hit the trim button, and trimmed myself out of the water and rolled onto the back deck of the boat. So if you ever wind up in the water by yourself and your clothes are heavy, or you're just heavy, or you don't have the upper body strength, or that cold water zapped you of that strength, get to your motor, get your legs wrapped around the motor, or you can actually, on the newer ones, you could actually just stand on the calf plate, hit the trim button, trim yourself up out of the water, roll onto the back deck, and it's all good. So that's why I leave my boots unzipped, Chris Jones. I hope you're happy.